Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey and Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg facing off over the controversial issue of political ads. Now, just as Facebook released better than expected earnings, Dorsey tweeted that he's stopping all political ads, taking a dig at Zuckerberg's defense of political advertising as key for free speech. Dorsey tweeting, quote, "This isn't about free expression. This is about paying for reach, and paying to increase the reach of political speech has significant ramifications that today's democratic infrastructure may not be prepared to handle." In Facebook's earnings call, Zuckerberg defended his position to run political ads and to not fact-check them, saying it is not a financial decision.
We estimate that these ads from politicians will be less than 0.5% of our revenue next year. So that's not why we're doing this. To put this in perspective, the FTC fine that these same critics said wouldn't be enough to change our incentives was more than 10x bigger than this. So the reality is that we believe deeply that political speech is important, and that's what's driving this.
Facebook shares are trading about 2% higher this morning on better than expected earnings, pretty much across the board. Kelly, back over to you.
All right, Julia, thank you. Let's talk more about this social media showdown brewing between Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey. Joining us now, Dan Granger is founder and CEO of Oxford Road, an ad agency that has worked with companies like Hulu and Lyft. And Stephanie Miller is co-founder of Sandhill Strategy. It's great to see you both. Stephanie, I'll just start with you. Regulatorily speaking, who has this one right? Because we know there are rules about broadcast and cable and what TV ads they can and can't accept. Broadcast pretty much has to take what it's given. Cable has a little more discretion. Where does social media fall?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's following the law. So this is way more, I think, a political question and a political trying to navigate both the regulators, as Zuckerberg was talking about on the earnings call regarding the FTC, and also really angry policymakers in Congress who kind of want to see some skin that Facebook is willing to give to show that they're trying to be, a productive part of our democracy.
Right. Dan, what would your take be on this back and forth? Is it just is this a way for Jack Dorsey and Twitter to kind of differentiate itself because political advertising isn't a big part of their business? Or do you think there's a real philosophical importance to the stand that Jack Dorsey is taking here?
I think that's absolutely right. I think that they have such a minuscule amount of ad spend coming from politics that it's easy for him to throw this away. We may be talking about $3 to $5 million for him in the next election cycle. And if you look at the P&L on what it would cost to filter all those ads, he'd probably lose money on it. So I suspect it's got a lot more to that than what's being stated.
What about the claims that people are making about fake advertising, Stephanie, on Facebook? Is this something that Mark Zuckerberg says, look, we can trust people to kind of filter this information. If we shut this down, we're going to shut down smaller voices who want to get in front of people in favor of the incumbents? Or is social media more nefarious in presenting fake ads because they can't be vetted and might confuse people?
Yeah, I mean, the real issue is all the bad information, whether paid or unpaid, that people take to be truth that is filtered through these social media platforms. And these companies have a real problem with that, and they're constantly, being criticized for their role in this. I think there's just kind of an element that both companies, there's only so much that they feel like they can do that's reasonable. I think there's a little bit of a social license to operate, as we like to say at Sandhill. Like, what really do they need to be demonstrating that how much they're trying to give back to fix some of these problems? And so this may just need to be some, more talk than walk a little bit. I think Zuckerberg and Facebook look a little, oblivious when they're not taking these steps that Twitter's doing and Twitter's being praised to do.
Dan, educate me a little bit. Obviously, we work for a company, NBC Universal, that takes political advertising, and a lot of the affiliates and company-owned stations do, as do most television stations across the country. What are the standards that are applied in those cases to make sure that the advertising is legit, number one, that it comes from legitimate sources, and that it is truthful?
Well, I think the standard actually increases as you get to the newer platforms. We know that you have less jurisdiction on a broadcast network over what is run by a politician. But what's really unfortunate about this is that it seems like neither Zuckerberg nor Dorsey just want to do the work. And as a byproduct of that, I think that we're limiting the open discourse in this country. We are cutting off some candidates that may be the only way they can really get their message out. And I think it's particularly damning to Twitter to think, if you take his remarks at face value, he's basically saying, look, we can't control this thing and it could be a really harmful platform. But if you extrapolate that onto the advertisers that they take generally, that's very concerning. I think it's more of a P&L issue and an operational issue than anything else, and a classic challenger brand move by Dorsey to get in the headlines with Zuckerberg.
Dan, do you mean not do the work, meaning they don't want to spend the money to vet?
Correct. I mean, if you imagine the difficulty and complexity of trying to be the arbiter of deciding what political ads are acceptable and what are not when you have the ability to spend such small sums of money, that would be an operational nightmare. And frankly, I think that would probably eat up any potential profits that would come from accepting the revenue.